President-elect Donald Trump and his vice president will take the oath of office indoors in the Capitol Rotunda. That's according to our colleagues at ABC News.
Wanted to bring on one of my favorite commentators from PragerU, Alexis Wilkins, someone who also is incredibly well informed and familiar with the music industry, to give us a little bit of a preview of what we're hearing about the music for President Trump's inauguration. Alexis, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
And so let's walk through. The latest that I'm hearing is that the parade, of course, a selection typically of the each state sends up their own entry into the parade, as well as the various military bands and the ceremonial bands will play for the president. What I'm being told now, as of the latest, that those bands and those performances, instead of being on the parade route, will actually be held indoors inside Capital One Arena. Is that what you're hearing as well?
That's what I'm hearing, and I think that it could shape up to be one of the most interesting and historic in-arena concerts of all time.
Why do you say that?
Well, if you're taking an inaugural parade and inserting it into an arena where people can have a more intimate view of what's going on, I'm a huge fan of standing on a parade route. I like the things the way that they are, the way that they normally go. I'm not a huge fan of change, but if it has to change for the safety and of everyone and the temperature, then I think putting it into an arena could be a very interesting and historic way to go, where everyone gets to see everything instead of kind of cherry picking where to go and having it pass by you.
Well, that's right. And so talk to me as well about some of the, pop artists, and really it seems like a lot of country western artists that have been selected by President Trump to make those special performances at the inauguration.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of artists jump in here, and I think that it's great that the culture is kind of catching up with where the actual culture of America is standing. I'm happy to see these people speaking out, and we've seen kind of one by one. I think the first one that dropped was Carrie Underwood singing America the Beautiful. I'm, of course, very excited to hear that. It's going to be beautiful. And then a lot of other artists. You have Jason Aldean, you have Parker McCollum, I think, is doing a set at one of the balls. These people are, putting their name down for President Trump, and I think it's incredible, and I commend them. I have a long time been a supporter, as you know, of President Trump, and I think that speaking out about the things that you believe is something that, even when it's not cool, which it wasn't for a very long time, I feel like we need to kind of remind people of that so that we don't let it happen again. When you speak out about the things that you believe, you have the opportunity to shift culture. And what we saw here on November 5th wasn't just a political shift, it was a cultural shift. And I think that right now we're seeing the work that the American people did show up in the celebrity form. And I think it's great.
Well, let me ask you about this. So when it comes to, the idea of performing at a presidential inauguration, it used to be that we lived in a country where we could understand that performing at the president's inauguration was not something that was partisan, that it was, in fact, an official event that takes place every 4 years. This is what we're told by the Democrats all day long, all night long. Peaceful transfer of power, our democracy. Well, isn't it part of our democracy respecting that process, even when it doesn't go our way? And that would extend, of course, itself to the musical acts. But of course, it hasn't been that way because Trump or anyone supporting Trump have been so denormalized in society that the idea of simply performing at the president's inauguration could almost be some kind of an issue. So has there been much, blowback or backlash to any of these announcements that you've seen from within the industry?
It's interesting because I've seen some things come up on Twitter specifically about Carrie Underwood singing at the inauguration. And it's fascinating because she's always been patriotic. She's always been pretty unifying, I believe. She has worn American flag clothing. I don't think that that's partisan, but the liberals tend to. So here we are. And she has to come out with this statement about unity and the fact that, we're working towards unity, and that's why she's performing at the inauguration. And the fact that she even has to come out with this statement to state the obvious and say that, hey, we're all getting together, this is a bipartisan effort. It's even led on the committee by Democrats. It's not like Republicans are putting on a show and Democrats are standing idly by, except for the ones who are skipping, of course, the inauguration. And so I think it's fascinating that they have to put this out. I've seen some on Twitter about people wanted to post that she lost all these viewers, that she lost 1.5 million Spotify listeners. Of course, this was immediately community noted and corrected, and she didn't lose any at all because the American people issued a mandate on November 5th. I mean, I myself am singing the national anthem at a couple of the balls. I'm very excited, very enthusiastic, happy to post about it, always have been. And I think that it's something that we need to normalize moving forward. We kind of lost sight of it when I think a lot of the industries decided to bend the knee to the woke mob, and there are people who didn't. And I think that we need to heed what they do, and we need to move forward and never do that again.
No, I think that's exactly right. And I think that actually what they're doing in terms of coming up, showing up, making their voices heard, providing their music, it's actually going to go a long way, I hope, go a long way towards showing the country that we can actually put this stuff behind us. And we don't have to politicize everything, especially when, look, the side of the country that refuses to expect that you're allowed to wear a red hat that says "Make America Great Again" or go around with an American flag or a Gadsden flag or anything like that. That side of America, you're the minority now. You are no longer the majority in this country. And by the way, that doesn't, and I'll just say this and I'll say it once, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. That just means you were wrong about the election. And so what it also explains is that you can have the opportunity to, guess what? You can listen to music. By the way, this is something, wait, Alexis, I gotta ask you this question. Conservatives have had to deal with this our entire lives because every time you go to watch a movie, every time you go to listen to a song, you say, oh, did you hear what so-and-so said about this or so-and-so said about that? And you're like, you know what? I don't care. It's a good song. It's a good movie. Why should I have to care about that? And then all of a sudden, because they've politicized it so much, they want us to politicize it so much. And it's like, guess what? The shoe's a little bit on the other foot now. And yeah, it is kind of uncomfortable, isn't it?
I'm glad you made this point. I'm glad you brought it up. I'm trying to be as positive as I can here, but I couldn't agree more. You know, we've had a long time, I mean, not just the Trump era, but the Obama era, where conservatives are the silenced group, even though we are, in fact, the majority. And like you said, we proved that November 5th. And we've been here the whole time, wearing our flags, trying to have friends, have families, have Christmas dinners without politics coming up, without losing aunts and uncles to a political argument, without having to sacrifice, I mean, gosh, our jobs are not just the movies we watch, but there have been huge sacrifices. I mean, I don't think I need to tell this audience that, but I just think it's fair to bring it up and say, I'm so glad that people are using their voices now. I think that, you know, if we would have had a wave of star power, honestly, besides the people, of course, I have to give them props, Jason Aldean, John Rich, the people who really have been there from the beginning and even have supported me, and I'm so grateful. But if we would have had a wave of star power, I don't know that the culture would have gotten this far. So I'm glad that people are jumping on now, and I say jumping lightly and very, very respectfully. But I agree that it's kind of one of those things where we're just watching the liberals go through what we've been going through, really, as I said, since the Obama era. So I think that it's going to take an adjustment period for them to get used to it. But, you know, we've all canceled our Netflix subscriptions, changed the channel when a movie came on, not listened to some of our favorite songs because an artist decided to make their music about politics and furthermore, make their music about hating people who believe what you believe. So I think that this is a healthy 180, and I think that we're going to see a very interesting shift in culture in the next, 4 years, but really even 100 days. I mean, it's going to be pretty tectonic.